Welcome back to Beyond the Streams. Today's episode, we have a very interesting device. Is the Amazon Fire Stick coming to an end? I don't know. We'll see. Of course, we got Next Level here and Rojas. Well, you're never gonna find us anywhere else besides in this channel, in this stream. So, how are we doing today, man?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. Man. A lot of good things are going on. A lot of awesome things in the community. Has me feeling really good lately. I'll be honest. It has me feeling real good.
Yeah, me too. definitely me too. Check this out. All right, we're jumping into this thing real quick. Check this out. So this is coming from Android TV Guide. In just a month, Google certified almost 10 TV brands to use Android TV in South Korea. What does that mean for the rest of the world? I know some people are going to say, like, I've never heard of some of these brands before, but keep in mind, a lot of our technology comes from Japan, the Koreas, China.
For real?
Everything comes from there. So is this going to lead into something much bigger?
Bigger, yeah, for sure. I mean, originally we only knew of like 2 or 3 brands, and then all of the other brands slowly started coming into our market, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it starts. And especially if devices are going to be Google certified, they're that much closer to infiltrating the North American market, right?
Definitely. I know there's, when people think of like Toshiba, they're just like, okay, it's a brand, but you can't compare that same conversation with like Samsung or Sony.
But a lot of these bigger brands, especially Amazon, is notorious for this. They'll go and they'll pick up a smaller company like this. And then once they're a sister company, it's just that much easier.
Yep, definitely. So let's look into this thing here. It says this is an example of how Google is planning to slowly replace Linux and AOSP televisions by Android TV.
Yep.
Check this out. So these are all the brands here on the left. And it says Estla Hansung. Almost Hansung.
I know. I'm so handsome.
iRiver, Prism. I've heard of Prism before. Smart Ever, The Ham. You need to go ham.
My TV goes ham.
Truvy, and UMax. Now, these are all the websites that they have here. These are the processors where it's coming from. Everything South Korea. And then the ODM, OEM, and then the models. Now, if we do come here, I was just looking. I just totally skipped this. QLED, UHD. They have the stuff that's out there. So here's Hansung. And Samsung, so similar to it. Here's
with Toot
by Inos. And look at that.
It's clean.
It's clean. It looks, people are going to say like, dude, this is like TiVo, like the NVIDIA Shield, like everything's all built into it. And as you guys know, it's going to have Chrome. And if it has Chrome, you can get file linked. And if you have file linked, they'll let the floodgates begin.
Well, not only that, downloaders in the Play Store too, right? We just talked about it.
Downloaders in the Play Store. So it's interesting. It like for you guys who are listening here, this looks like how your NVIDIA Shield would look like. It's interesting. I know for me, I'm not a fan of having a TV and download apps to the TV because the TVs are not meant for internal space. They're not meant to house a lot of stuff.
No, for real. I agree with you on that. But what's the reason so many people buy entry-level devices?
To get those third-party apps.
Yeah, but because they're cheap. They're a cheap solution, right? They're not planning on these when people bought a first generation Fire Stick for it to last 3, 4, 5 years, right? I'm thinking these TVs are not going to be priced the same way Samsung's priced, right?
Probably not, no.
And they would probably be sufficient. I mean, you wouldn't have, generally for most people, they wouldn't have an off-brand TV as their main TV in their house. So I would, like, personally, if I was to buy a TV like this with Android TV OS built in, I would be putting it for maybe my son, or maybe a TV in my garage or something like that. Something that I don't demand too much from it. But who knows what these TVs are going to open up the floodgates to, right?
Mhm.
I think that the way that you open it up, saying, is the Fire Stick coming to an end? Obviously, we all know the answer is no, it's not coming to an end. But what we're really talking about is the market share and the power of dominating that market because of the cost of the device, right? If every TV that comes out has Android TV OS on it and you can sideload it, do you need to buy a Fire Stick for every TV you own?
Probably not.
Probably not. And if the TVs are cheaper brands and they're not that expensive, it could be well within your budget to pick up a couple, cheaper TVs. Kind of how Toshiba and Insignia do it. I mean, I have a 50-inch Toshiba Fire TV, paid 400 Canadian for it. That's probably like 200 US. I don't know, something like that. But to get a 50-inch TV that's 4K and looks and sounds great, I have no complaints about that TV. And if we're going to start to see the same kind of transition with Android tvOS, then it's going to come down to the people saying, well, I don't really like the Fire tvOS. Oh, it looks like a shield. It's just built into my TV. That's going to be an interesting market that we're going to see start unfolding over the next few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right now, I peeked over behind me to see the TV behind me, and it's a Vizio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other TVs that I have in the family room is my old Samsung. It was one of the old Samsungs that I got back in 2012, which was
Mm-hmm.
brand spanking new that year. And then in the living room, the main place where I sit, watch, play, do whatever I need to, that is my my Samsung 900 N series.
Mm-hmm.
It's my beast. That
Yeah.
TV just came out, and it's crazy because I have an Nvidia Shield on it. It's in there now. It takes care of everything that I do. Can I like I can see some of these companies, and it's going to be very interesting. I know CES this year, there's a lot of stuff that was coming out and a lot of stuff that they were talking about. CES is going to have probably some more stuff coming out next year
For
with
sure.
TVs coming with this Android TV. And I don't know. I think when I open it up as is the Amazon Fire Stick coming to an end, it's almost like if every TV, I don't know, something that we need to think about. If every TV has Android TV, if every single TV switches over, Amazon has their own TV with their own built-in OS onto it. If
Mm-hmm.
every single TV said, you know what? Let's just say Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, Vizio, a lot of these big ones say, you know what? We're going to do Android TV onto our device. That's going to be the platform, the operating system that's going to run. That's what we're doing. Now you already have Apple iOS TVs. And then now what about Amazon? There's already Amazon OS TVs.
Yeah. And even August, OnePlus is going to do a global launch of their TV.
Can the Fire Stick to me it almost seems like there can be an end, not now, not yet. But if this is the direction that it's heading to, what do you
Mm-hmm.
think? Do you think it could be the end of the Amazon Fire Stick?
Well, I mean, these are all speculations and
Right.
everything that we're doing, right? But I mean, I could see if all TVs in the future were side loadable, the dongles wouldn't make much sense. But in order for that to happen, I would need to see the minimum specs of 2 gigs of RAM, DDR4 in these TVs. I would need to see a minimum of 5 gigabytes of free space on the TV, right? I
Free
mean,
space.
free space. That's what I'm saying. Not of hard drive space.
Not
Like some
just-
companies will give you 8 gigs, but only give you 4 gigs of free space, right?
Right.
I want to see 5 gigs of free space. And at the end of the day, my expectations would be set that I'm only going to be installing maybe 5 or 10 applications. That's it. I'm not going to try to game on these TVs. I'm not going to try to do anything crazy. I'm just going to try to stream. I'm going to use my typical apps. I'm going to have my players, my YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I don't need much more than that to do it. So if these TV manufacturers can hit those marks, right, They give me my 2 gigs of DDR4 RAM. They give me my 5 gigs of free space on the operating system, all that kind of good stuff. Minimum. I'm able to sideload. I mean, that's huge, right? I think a remote is very important as well too, right? I mean, we can get third-party remotes, but in order to get that real fluid experience when you open up a brand new device, it has to come with a nice remote, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I think if they can hit all of that, then Amazon might start to make a bigger transition to their Cube, right? Imagine instead of having the Fire Stick line and the Fire Cube line, they came out with a budget cube and a premium cube, like how you have the NVIDIA Shield, right? That would be interesting. I think that would be interesting.
It could be, and maybe even if Android TV is going this direction, this could be I don't know. Like for me, it's almost like when we talk about cell phones and they had the pagers,
Mm-hmm.
and then pagers went away because cell phones started doing so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Now your TVs, you look at how far TVs have come around, and then now you've had these devices to stream: Fire Sticks, Buzz TV, Vid Sticks, NVIDIA Shields, and potentially, like if everything that you said, if the TVs do everything that you said, if they're like, you know what, we're gonna put a good processor in this TV, we're gonna give you your memory. You know what, we're gonna give you 8 gigs minimum. But I think all TVs have USB ports.
Yep, they do.
If you could put a USB in there and put a 16 terabyte of that B-Link thing that we talked about, 32 terabytes of memory.
Yeah.
If you could plug that in directly and have that as your warehouse for apps, for movies, for everything.
But I mean, that's a NOS device though, Rojas. As long as you can install Plex on your TV, it doesn't need to be plugged into your B-Link.
Right. And I think and that's the beauty of where this can go to. This could change a lot of things for a lot of people.
It could. I mean, it all depends on how these manufacturers give us the right products, right? And you said something that is interesting. You started mentioning cell phones, right? And I think that where we are at with cell phones right now, we've hit a nice, comfortable plateau, right? The budget devices that are out right now, the mid tier that are a couple $100s, they're legitimately exactly what we need in a cell phone. Anything that's over, $400 or $500, you get into the premium market that you don't necessarily really need unless you're some kind of content creator, some kind of editor, something that's business minded, or something like that. But the average person that wants to use a phone as a phone can get away by paying, $200-$300 on a cell phone. So if we've hit that kind of plateau in regards to performance and hardware on cell phones, then I think that the specs that I gave earlier is the same kind of plateau when it comes to basic streaming.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
That could last a good 2-3 years.
Well, the lifespans of TVs, they're what, 5 to 10?
I think they were 5 to 10.
Now they might be pushing a little bit more.
No, I think they're pushing a little bit less. It depends on how much you spend on a TV, though, right? For instance,
if you get a budget TV, don't expect it to last a long time.
Well, I mean, there's twofold, right? The first TV I bought it when I moved in here, I paid like $250 for it, and then as I upgrade, I moved that TV to another spot. So I bought my $400 Canadian Toshiba, and then that's my main one, right? And then I want to get the next Toshiba that comes out because I like the Fire TV operating system on it. That's just me. I'm going to move that one out to a different spot. And then you kind of just, you move up. But if you have the money to invest in a nice Samsung like you do, then go for it, right? It all depends on lifestyle, personal preference, where you at, and what you want from your entertainment, right? But the other comment that I wanted to make, so that was hardware. And I said, if they give me those basics in hardware, it's performance wise good enough to last me for a few years. And usually in the past, I've always said, don't get a smart TV, always get a dumb TV and then a smart device, right?
Firestick.
Because yeah, something like that, because you can swap out the devices easier. But if they can give me those specs, I think I would be satisfied. If I want more, then sure, I'll go get a Shield or I'll go get the B-Link or I'll go whatever. So the second point is in regards to software, right? So think about this. Samsung, OnePlus, who else do you have? LG, all those people. Pixel, they're all running Android. All right. Pixel's the only one that doesn't put their own user interface on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. OnePlus is coming out with their own TV. I'm curious to see if they'll actually put a little bit of their own skin on top of Android TV OS. Mm-hmm. And that would be interesting because you have a Samsung. I have a Samsung S20, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful phone. Love it. I'll tell you, I hated it. I missed my OnePlus when I switched. Absolutely missed it. I still think that my OnePlus 6 is faster than this device. Mm. And even though it had less RAM, less storage, I missed that device because of how that user interface was. Mm-hmm. So who knows if Google will allow them to put a little bit of their own flavor in some of these TVs that are coming out.
They could. I think I really do think if as some of this stuff is coming out, like again, Samsung, mm-hmm. They have their own interface and it is Android, but they have their own interface that they're using. So when I open up my Samsung, I don't feel like it's Android. I feel like it's Samsung. It has its own lineup of apps at the bottom.
That's the One UI, or not the One UI. What is it called? Is it the One UI? What do they call it now? It used to be Touch, right?
Yeah, it used to be. It might be One UI. Now you got to look that up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
So the way they do it, you have that very personal experience that you don't feel like Android TV. It is okay.
Yeah.
So, when I plug in my NVIDIA Shield, I'm like, cool, I'm on Android TV now. I'm using my Samsung TV with the Samsung stuff. They have their own app store. They have their own stuff. I could go through all kinds of stuff and download whatever I need. But I really do think, I don't know. I think this is a change
that we need.
And I have a feeling because a lot of these TVs, especially the expensive ones, that 900N series that I got is a beast. Like the specs on that thing, I don't want to get too far.
Okay, but is it a beast when it comes to display specs or actual hardware specs?
Both. Like,
what's it got for?
Again, I don't want to go into the specs on that thing because then that's a whole other conversation.
Fine.
But when it comes to allowing third-party stuff, there's several. Actually, there is several people already talking about how their main entertainment stuff that they use is their TV. They have everything plugged into not even plugged into the TV. They use their TV to download apps, and they use the TV hardware, software to run those apps. And the only, as soon as people say that, where they're just like, oh yeah, I have a TV, I have downloader, and I use TV Zion on my TV. I don't use an NVIDIA Shield. I don't use a Firestick. My TV does that. I have a TV that does that, and I know what that means. That means that TV has the hardware to do it.
Yeah.
What these guys are doing now with Android TV, with some of these lower end devices, the lower end TVs, is saying, let's open up those high specs where instead of you're paying $5,000, or if you want to go budget, $3,000 TV. I know, budget $3,000 TV, that's still pretty pricey.
That ain't my budget.
When I'm talking about $3,000 budget TV, you're talking about 4K, 8K. You're talking about something that is just playing.
Yeah, that's like your OLEDs and your QLED and all that kind of craziness.
QLED, right. Those are now your budget TVs where it has that memory where you could add all those apps. Now, if Android TV says, you know what, we're going to take all those specs up there and all these different, and I shouldn't even say Android TV, these companies like the Ham, If the Ham or Hunsung or whatever they want to call themselves,
Or Windtoot.
yeah, if they say, hey, you know what, we're gonna grab those specs, like whatever like an Nvidia Shield has, we're gonna put the Amlogic S905Y2 into our TV. We're gonna put everything that it needs for graphics, everything that it needs for
You,
audio.
you know who I'd like to see do that? B-Link. I'd like to see B-Link come out with a TV.
And you know what? That could happen.
It could. They're
Like,
a big company.
Firestick, they didn't have a TV.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, we're Firestick. Now we're Fire TV box. Now we're the Fire dongle. Now we're the 4K Firestick and the Cube.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere between the Fire TV box and the dongle is when we got the Amazon TV.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you know what? Let's just do this TV thing. And it's just like, wait a minute. Android TV could probably do the same thing.
It's amazing how they kept the price so low, though.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Low. Amazing.
And now you're going to start seeing companies like B-Link, Buzz TV, Xiaomi.
Imagine if Buzz TV came with a TV.
Like, dude, businesses are going to have to do if people start adding Android TV as their operating system, and they're putting all that stuff that these devices have into your TV screen, they're going to be forced to either evolve into the TV portion and put all that hardware into TVs, or be like the pager when they're just going to fizzle out.
Well, I think there's one more point that I want to make on this topic, and the reason why I think my perspective has changed when it's come to sideloading a TV versus getting a device and hooking it up to a TV. I mean, I'm always going to have devices. That's just how we are, right? We're always going to have devices. But in this modern day and age, there's a beauty in simplicity, right? You see a lot of dongles coming out now. Why? Because it cleans up your entertainment system. You don't see it there, right? The Shield, the cigar tube that we call it, or the Pringles can, or whatever you call it, that's not meant to be put on your entertainment unit in front of your TV. It's not. It's meant to be either put behind it or on the floor, which bothers me, but that's where it's meant to go. There's a beauty in simplicity. There's a beauty in no wires, right? You can just hide the one power cable that's plugged into the wall, mount the TV to the wall, and there's nothing hanging from it. There's no cables. There's nothing. And I think there's a huge market for that, especially in, those heavy populated metropolitan areas. I mean, like in Toronto, that's not too far from where I live, the apartment spaces aren't as big as when you go out to the more rural areas, right? People's income has come down a lot due to recent circumstances, and rent is not cheap. So you get smaller places. You have to do more with smaller places. And that's why I'm really interested to see where this stuff is going.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I know some everyone who's listening and watching this, and Next Level and I can agree with this. Am I gonna go running to buy the ham TV?
Yeah.
Not.
Am I gonna go ham for the ham?
I'm gonna go ham. But the one thing that we do, we keep an eye out on where this technology comes from, because it sparks something. And we know, because like in the beginning of the show, we said technology comes from Japan. A lot of those makers from China, South Korea, a lot of this stuff that comes out there, you don't hear of a Russian TV. You don't hear about products from Slovenia. I think I butchered their country's name. Slovakia? Slovenia? I don't know.
I think they're different places.
You never hear, it's interesting. You just never hear these companies from different, countries,
But I mean, we all kind of already understand the main companies have all of their products produced where. And if they're producing those products there already, the knowledge, the know-how, the materials, and everything else is already there. So it's just easier for them to create other off-brands.
Yeah.
right?
So it's going to be very interesting with this one in particular. It's going to be very interesting when they create these off brands to see if this catches fire
In Korea.
in Korea. Oh, believe you're going to see a lot of changes happening.
Yeah.
A lot of changes. If this catches fire, there's going to
Maybe
be
not right away, but it has to catch fire there first.
right. And it usually there's always that joke of if it always comes from Japan. Think technology is always ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to a lot anything tech related, really. In Japan, China, it's always there first, and then everybody else gets it later. You know, they announce it, the Samsung S20, and it's just like, wait, how do you guys already have it? I'm waiting for it. You guys are talking about the S30. What happened to the 11 through 19? So we're going to end the episode now, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. There's a lot of speculations, a lot of updates coming, a lot of stuff. CES is one of the biggest platforms that these guys come out and show their information. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the future holds with this. What do you think, man?
You know what? I love being able to have these conversations. I really do. When we do general tech videos, we don't talk about speculations. We talk about what's here and now, and being able to kind of give our perspective in regards to what we think could happen in the future is pretty dope. So, I mean, we give you guys maybe our dreams, our perspectives of what the future could hold, depending on the little bits of facts and truths that we could find on our online resources. You guys should drop a comment below and tell us what you think, right?
Definitely. And on that note, we appreciate every single one of you guys.
Every single one of you guys.
You guys are
We have
awesome.
a blast.
Yeah. So stay tuned to the next episode. There's going to be some more stuff coming. As I always say, you guys take care and take care of each other.
Be patient and stay humble with everybody.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.